Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition to the Point Podcast. Hope you guys all had a great weekend and most of your Monday. I am live here. It is Monday night, 9:32 p.m. Didn't feel the best today. Didn't have the greatest day when it comes to just overall feeling, and had some problems with my health today. So wasn't feeling the best this morning, but I feel better now. And it's Monday. There's a lot to talk about from over the weekend. There was so much that happened, and I wanted to talk about it. I can't go by another day. We're doing a show tomorrow, same time as usually do. It'll be out about 5:30 p.m. as it is every other day. And I wanted to get there. I couldn't pass up a day before we get to news tomorrow because we're going to preview the NBA tomorrow. Seamus is off this week, but he'll be back next week. We'll get into more NBA, but I'm going to preview the NBA tomorrow. Going to talk about some NHL action tonight. Was watching that just before I came over to the studio here, and got some notes. Got some notes on the NHL this weekend that I find interesting. Watched a number of games, and of course we got NFL. College football was insane. If you didn't see what happened at the University of Tennessee this weekend when they beat Alabama, I honestly feel bad for you because that scene was incredible. It was crazy. So that we got just a lot to dive into today. A lot to dive into, and let's do it. We're here late, but I'm a night owl, as you guys know. I've talked about that before. I like staying. I don't sleep that much, and I slept this morning because I wasn't feeling that well. So now I'm extra hyper. I'm extra awake. So I probably won't. Knowing me, I won't sleep tonight because I slept this morning. But hey, I got enough sleep this morning to last me a couple days. So let's dive into the sports news from over the weekend. NFL, there's so many different places you could start. Chiefs, Bills, Cowboys, Eagles were the two games of the weekend. But that's not where we're starting. Today we're starting in Pittsburgh, where the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend upset the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is still quarterbacked by Tom Brady. There's so many interesting storylines from this game. But I want to start off by talking about Tom Brady before I get to the Steelers, because I got something to say about the Steelers and Mike Tomlin, who I'll defend until I'm dead or he dies. I'll still defend him after he's dead, till I'm dead. The Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a 3-3 football team, and they should be happy that they're 3-3. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a 3-3 team that were gifted a win last week against the Atlanta Falcons, who would have got the ball back with 3 minutes left and had a chance to go down the field, score a game-winning touchdown. Okay, Noah, that might not have happened. Okay, well, all I know is that the Atlanta Falcons beat the San Francisco 49ers, who made it to the NFC Championship game last year, by 2 scores yesterday, who I had to cover, of course, because Falcons have covered 6 weeks in a row. There's no betting. I can only give out that betting tip so often, but the Atlanta Falcons, 6 straight weeks, 6 straight covers. But beyond that, the Bucs should be happy that they're 3-3. They are a pedestrian football team. They have a lot of issues. For forever, it was always, well, we got Tom Brady, the GOAT, the best player of all time, and he would make up for issues on teams. He would overcome deficiencies. He was the closer. He was the problem solver, all of the above. Well, it's so crazy that the problem solver has morphed into the problem. Tom Brady is a problem in Tampa Bay so far this season and not a solution. Now, you could say that Tom Brady getting a divorce is personal life that doesn't come into the team. That's malarkey. That's not true. Anything that affects you at your workplace, whether it's personal or otherwise, is something that affects a team because you're not thinking right. Oh, Tom Brady also skipped 11 days of training camp. Had never done that before. And then there was this week, where if you hadn't heard this, I'll tell you right now. Friday night, Bob Kraft, aka Robbie Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, got married. I think he's been married 3 or 4 times, but he got married again. He's 83 and he married a 50-year-old woman. Good for Bobby Kraft. Maybe keep him out of the orchids of Asia down in Jupiter, Florida. Bobby Kraft gets married, no problem. Lots of celebrities there. Meek Mill. I forget all the names now. A bunch of people I didn't even know. But some celebrities that are at Bobby Kraft's wedding, and one guy that is there is old Tommy Brady. Al Michaels actually was the voice of the wedding. So good for Al. Get some more money on the side, I'm sure. So Tom Brady's at the wedding 2 days before a road game in Pittsburgh. He's at the wedding. He doesn't get on the team flight from Tampa to go to Pittsburgh Saturday morning. Okay, maybe that's not that big of a deal. But then he also misses the walkthrough Saturday before the game. Now, in my experience in life, when you skip things, that's fine as long as you deliver. It's fine if you miss a practice and you play great in a game, or if you're a shitty teammate then you play great on game day. That's normally, you know what, people forget about how much of a dick, about how much chaos, how much of a problem you are because you're winning. Well, when you go to a wedding, when you miss a Wednesday practice, when you miss the walkthrough, you miss the team flight, and you only put up 18 points on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who gave up 40 the previous week to the Buffalo Bills, that's not okay, ladies and gents. That's not going to be accepted, and you don't get to skate on 18 points to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't get to skate on having 4 3-and-out drives. You don't get to skate that Mike Evans, the best wide receiver on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster, only had 4 targets on Sunday. You lost to the Steelers, a 1-4 football team who had nothing coming in, had the life sucked out of them. People were saying they're going to quit on Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin should be fired. This team has no heart. And that team with no heart and no quarterback, a rookie coming into it, and a bunch of duds on defense whooped your tail. Period. Okay, you only won by 2 points. It doesn't matter. Steelers are morphing. They're changing. They've been great for a long time. The Bucs are planning to win a Super Bowl this year. Boy, you're not playing like it. The only thing going for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC is that all the great teams are playing like shit. But you also look at your record, and the Atlanta Falcons should have a better record than you, but the refs gave you a win because you're Tom Brady. This has nothing to do with Tom Brady, but he never, ever gets criticized. He skates, he walks, and I'm sick of it. He's the golden boy. He's the great. Guess what? Life isn't so good for Tom Brady right now, and he is having a shit season. He is playing like a below-average quarterback. His lowest QBR since 2006. The least amount of touchdowns he's thrown through 6 games of his career. More 3-and-outs through 6 weeks than he's ever had. This Tampa offense is pedestrian. They are the Broncos. Okay, get inside the 20, then you don't score. Field goal. How about a 2-point conversion to tie the game late, Tommy boy? Nope, incomplete pass. Steelers without Minkah Fitzpatrick. You could argue their best defensive player this past weekend, and Tommy B could only put up 18 points. Yet, right before halftime, he could go to every one of his offensive linemen and rip into them. If I was one of those offensive linemen, if I was Donovan Smith, who's a veteran left tackle, or if I was Tristan Wirfs, who's an all-pro, I would have told him to shove it because he had no right to complain this week. When you're playing great and you got shit around you, sure, you got merit. But just because you're Tom Brady doesn't mean you get to yell at people forever. When your play sucks, then you're just like the rest of us. You're shit, just like us. You're in this pit of despair. You're a loser, just like us. You're no different. Status is irrelevant in this case. Mike Tomlin was getting killed for a week. Steelers quit on him. Steelers got no fight. Steelers are going to have one of the highest draft picks. What happened? Steelers came out with a compete. They came out and played hard. Cam Hayward played like his coach was on death row. By the public opinion, his coach might have been. His coach might have had his head in the guillotine, and Cam Hayward balled the fuck out. He played. He had compete. Yet you look at the other side of the field, it's Tom Brady yelling at a bunch of people, and he's offering no solutions because he was junk again. The Bucs have nothing, I repeat, nothing that excites you. Tom Brady's pedestrian play. A run game that is more effective than the pass game, but they're too arrogant to use it. Why aren't they using Leonard Fournette more? They're getting 5 to 6 yards a carry. No, we got to throw the ball 35 times a game. Wonder why that's happening. Yeah, I'm looking at the quarterback again. Stuff that stat sheet, Tommy. Won't be your fault at the end of the year. It sure looks like he should have retired. Sure looks like he should have stayed married. That might sound a little harsh. I don't care. I don't know what's happening in his marriage, and quite honestly, I'll repeat again, I don't care. But what I do know is his play's been pretty crap. Crap. And it's not like you've had a brutal schedule. You lost to the 3-3 Packers. Again, you got a cheap win against the 3-3 Falcons. You beat the 2-4 Saints. And you beat the Cowboys before they're the Cowboys. Impressive victories. Impressive victories. Old Tommy. He's been the Grim Reaper of the NFL for a long time. He no longer is. He's not the same quarterback. He's the same quarterback that bitches and gets a lot of calls. That will never change. Once a person's like that, they'll always be like that. It's hard to get that out of the system. But I look at their system. I look at the way they look on the sideline. That's not a great team. It's not a team that has anything that's quarterbacks can overcome team flaws. Tom Brady hasn't been able to so far because he's a big part of the problem. That might not seem like it's the case. It is the case. Old man, crabby Tom Brady. Crabby 30-year-old Tom Brady could overcome this. I'm not sure crabby going to wedding Tom Brady can overcome the shit that's going on in Tampa Bay right now. Special teams, your defense played well. You still can't. 20 points allowed. You can't win the game, Tom Brady. Yikes. 3-3. Lucky you got the Panthers in Week 7, who are just a tire fire of tire fires, to Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin, actually, let me take it somewhere different. You saw two completely different scenarios this weekend of how you can approach a situation. In life, there are people that run into a brick wall that are dealt a really bad hand, and some people can give up, some people can go down a darker path, or some people will overcome it. And I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Carolina Panthers in this analogy. The Steelers, 1-4. The Panthers, 1-4. The Steelers are 1-4. They're being criticized, saying Mike Tomlin should be fired. This team quit. All this. Cam Hayward gets caught on a social media loophole criticizing Mike Tomlin. It's not a good scene. Not a good scene in Pittsburgh. Carolina, fire their head coach. Every player is being shopped. It's a disaster in Carolina. Similar situations, right? Well, You had two completely different situations of how you handle the situation over the weekend. The Pittsburgh Steelers were the person in life that got dealt a bad hand, that were raised by drug addicts, that didn't have a great family life, and they found a way to be a success story. They found a way to get out of their shitty situation and improve their life, nothing to do with their family. All to do about them, their character, their heart. The Steelers played the Bucs. They played Tom Brady, and they won the football game this weekend. Cam Hayward was a dog this weekend. He played his ass off, getting to Tom Brady, getting the backfield nearly every play, putting pressure on him. He was sublime. Sublime for the Steelers. He battled for his coach. That team battled for their coach. Kenny Pickett early in the game, opening drive, touchdown. Najee Harris fighting for extra yards, running the football. Jaylen Warren, a nice little scat back. Chase Claypool, who I've criticized more than maybe anyone on this podcast, played, in my opinion, the best game of his career. He made the two catches of his career, and he fought. He fought for yardage. He fought for that team, and he dug in. But how about Kenny Pickett goes down with a concussion? You're thinking, well, this great underdog story, this upset's over. Average Joe's is going to lose to the Global Gym Purple Cobras. No. Mitch Trubisky came into that game and played big. I said that they shouldn't pull Mitch Trubisky because it was Matt Canada's fault for this lackadaisical offense. Mitch Trubisky came into a big moment in a game where he saw his teammates fighting tooth and nail to win it. And how about Mitch? How about 3rd down and 15? Beautiful pass to Chase Claypool, 1st down. And then a 3rd and 8 finds Claypool again for a 1st down, not to mention he hit Claypool for a touchdown to go up 22-12. Trubisky, 3 huge throws. He scrambled for a 1st down. He came into the game cold, and he had something to prove, and he played like it. That showed me character from Mitch Trubisky. That would make me want to have him if I was a team. But also for these Steelers, they had Mike Tomlin. Maybe they don't get along with him all the time, but they played for him. They wanted to win for him, and they played like they had something to prove. They are the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've been competitive forever. We maybe don't have as talented as a team as we used to. We're dealt a shitty hand, but you know what? Today, we can win this game. And they fought, and they overcame it. Credit to Deontay Johnson, who did not have a drop for the first time in 7 games. Credit to Chase Claypool, who had 3 massive catches. Credit to Mitch Trubisky, who came in. Credit to Cam Hayward. Credit to the Steelers secondary, who did not have Minka Fitzpatrick and still only gave up 18 points to Tom fucking Brady. That is when you're dealt a bad hand and you still find a way to win. You still find a way to not say, well, we had all these issues. We're 1-5. We're going to draft high. Screw it. We're going to have a massive victory on our resume. So help me God. How about the Steelers' victories this year? They beat the Bengals. They beat the Bucs. 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl the past 2 years. Character victory for the Steelers. They're 2-4. They might have a terrible season. They got Miami Dolphins next weekend. They could win that game. Miami's all of a sudden 3-3. Tua might be coming back. Who knows? Their concussion protocol system is as fucked as anybody's. It's the Miami Dolphins. It's completely, there's nothing coherent about the Miami Dolphins. One of the worst organizations in sports. They got a shit owner and a bunch of people know what the hell's going on down there. Would you expect competence? Don't. No. Credit to the Steelers. Mike Tomlin. That's leadership. That's how you get team players motivated to play for you. They win a huge game at home. Good for Tomlin. Good for the Steelers. I mentioned the opposite of this. Steelers dealt a bad hand. They fight. to get a better life. They don't just give in. They don't just quit. Then there's the Carolina Panthers. 1-4, playing the Rams. They are leading at halftime because the Rams are so incompetent. The Rams on offense, that's a whole other story. How predictable they are. Matthew Stafford, another pick six. He has more pick sixes than Drew Brees and Peyton Manning combined over the course of their entire careers. Crazy. Matthew Stafford. Predictable offense, bad offense. They can't run the football. Cam Akers sits out. But this is not even me to talk about how bad the Rams are because they stink too. Carolina Panthers. My notes on these Panthers. Not even worth. I took notes about the Panthers. Not even worth my time. So, you're leading 10-7 at half. 7 points from a pick six. P.J. Walker had 43 yards passing. I think he only had like 80 for the game. Christian McCaffrey had over 100 all-purpose yards. Good for his looks to see if he can get traded. But you're going through the game, and Robbie Anderson is complaining about targets. He's almost getting into a fist fight on the sideline with his receivers coach. But that's only on one drive. So they get fighting, they get separated. Robbie Anderson goes on the field again. After the next drive, they start bickering again. Finally, Steve Wilks, the interim head coach, kicks Robbie Anderson off the field. This offense didn't do anything. I don't think they tried. They didn't try anything explosive. They had multiple 4th and 1s. They didn't go for it. They play with no heart. They didn't play with any urgency. And I mentioned the Steelers before, Mike Tomlin. I also want to mention their ownership group. I talk with a lot of shitty owners. Steelers, I will never. They started the Rooney Rule, which was the inclusion of having minorities interview for head coaching jobs. Teams don't have to hire them. We have to interview them. So you have to pretend that you're not a bigot. But also, the Rooneys have been, from the get-go, we are going to be competitive every season. We're going to put a product on the field that you can be proud of. The Carolina Panthers have put a product that you could be proud of twice in the history of the organization. They've been to 2 Super Bowls. They lost them both. Jake Delhomme at quarterback and Cam Newton in his MVP season in 2015 when they went 15-1. But this organization with new ownership, the past ownership, it's been a complete disaster. They quit before the game started against the Rams. They're just playing out this season. Newsflash, Carolina, you're 1-5 and it's week 7. You got a long way to go. A long way to go. Whether it's P.J. Walker, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Jacob Eason, whoever the hell's playing quarterback. Okay, you can trade CMC if a team can afford him. Okay, you can trade Brown, the great defensive tackle. Maybe you trade Brian Burns, the good DN. What then? You're going to lose every game, then draft. Okay, you're going to go draft a quarterback. Okay, it's a simple solution. Everybody says, we'll just draft the top quarterback available. I've seen a lot of good quarterbacks get ruined by good organizations. That doesn't mean it's going to work. See Walker in the chat. CMC to the Bills. I think it's a good fit. I do think it's a good fit. My only thing about the Bills is they hate running the football. And I think CMC would be used more as a scat back. I think he could be used basically as a wide receiver tailback combination. But I think the Bills should run the football more, but not just Josh Allen. Josh Allen runs too much. He takes too many hits. You draft running backs. You got Zach Moss. You got James White. You got Singletary. Use them. They were running the ball early against the Bills yesterday. The Chiefs were doing the same thing. And both teams went against that philosophy. And both offensive coordinators will do that. Ken Dorsey in Buffalo and Andy, obviously, in Kansas City. But I think McCaffrey would work in Buffalo for sure. I also think I think Philly is going to be aggressive to try to get him. I think Philly could use him. I mean, they have a number of good running backs already. They have a great rushing attack, but he could be another weapon for that team. I think any team that really thinks they can win the Super Bowl. Here, I just talked about the Bucks and about how much I lamented them to start the show. They should look at Christian McCaffrey. Yes, Leonard Fournette's still a beast, but Tom Brady loves throwing passes to little backs, and that's what CMC is. He could be a makeshift wide receiver, running back. Tom Brady could throw him passes out of the backfield, third down, check back in. Giovanni Bernard's hurt. This Evans is okay, but I think McCaffrey would be a good fit in Tampa. I think he'd be a good fit in Buffalo. I think Philly should look into him. Jets don't need him. Jets don't need McCaffrey. But I mean, Carolina, Robbie Anderson, grow the fuck up. He gets traded to the Cardinals today. You're not good enough to complain. You're not good enough to look at coaches and say that you got all these issues. You're part of the problem why this team sucks. You are. You drop the ball. You're inconsistent. The Jets got rid of you when the Jets were still terrible, so that tells you something about how good you were, and now you're on a terrible Carolina team. Now you get traded to the Cardinals. Good luck there. Not a whole lot of wide receivers love that system. The Arizona Cardinals, who put up 9 points yesterday on the Seattle Seahawks, my Seahawks. Geno Smith. How about Geno Smith? There's a lot of good stories around the NFL this year. I love seeing Geno Smith win games. I love seeing Danny Dimes and the New York Giants win some games. Uplifting story. But yeah, I mean, I'll talk about the Cardinals here just briefly. As I just mentioned, they lost to the Seahawks yesterday, 19-9. Arizona, to me, just flatly looks unprepared. They never look ready to play. Their first halves, in particular their first quarter, are terrible. And here's why that's alarming. The first 10 to 14 plays of a game are scripted, meaning in your walkthrough, you've set up all those plays so when you start the game, you know what you're going with. And normally, they should be successful. However, the Arizona Cardinals do not have a first quarter touchdown this season. None. Field goals, that's it. But they put up 0 this past week. They are a team that comes out flat every single week. They are a team that seem to play better when Kyler Murray just says, you know what, I'm going to play street ball, screw Cliff Kingsbury and his direction. Kyler Murray had 100 yards rushing yesterday. 100. And they put up 9 points. They did not have a touchdown. They've had 2 games this season where Kyler Murray and that offense have scored 0 touchdowns. You're not going to win many games. You lost to a Seahawks team that preseason everybody said the Seahawks were going to finish last. They are 3-3. They are tied with the Niners and they are tied with the Rams. This might be hyperbole as we go forward, but what I've seen this year, the Seahawks are in that race. The Seahawks are alive in the NFC West because of the inconsistency of both those football teams. Just like the Cardinals somehow are still alive in that division. They are. They're not a good football team, but this is the change. To me, Cliff Kingsbury was given an extension in the offseason, 2 to 3 seasons. He has to be getting looked at. If this season goes poorly, I didn't have them making the playoffs before the season started. So maybe, but I think internally that management group, owners, shareholders there believe that they would. Believe that this team would turn it around. DeAndre Hopkins returns in week 7. We traded for Hollywood Brown. We gave Kyler an extension. We signed Zach Ertz long-term. We got ourselves a team. Well, Kyler Murray's only throwing the ball to Zach Ertz right now. You could say that's not all his fault because he's got nobody else to throw to, but Hollywood Brown was injured yesterday. He's out 6 weeks. Leads the team in receiving yards. DeAndre Hopkins comes off the suspended list this week for sticking a needle in his ass in the offseason. So he'll be available Thursday night when the Cardinals play the Saints. A couple 2-4 teams on Thursday Night Football. Al Michaels, my God, he's going to have a conniption fit that he's got another bad game on a Thursday night, although I think this one will be good. Kyler Murray, teams would love to have Kyler Murray. There's so many teams. This isn't about Kyler Murray. It's about Cliff and that offense, to me. Does Kyler have his flaws? Absolutely. I think he throws it, like I said, he dials in on one receiver, and that's who he focuses on. He doesn't go through his progressions. He doesn't look – he's got a little Aaron Rodgers in him this season where he just looks at one target, and that's who I'm going to throw the ball to. That's problematic because defenses read it. Like, fourth down, the end of the game, last about 4.5 minutes left in the game yesterday. Kyler Murray looks, and he's got A.J. Green going down the pike. Tariq Woolen, who might just be the defensive rookie of the year, stud corner, he's playing great coverage, and he intercepts the ball, closes out the game, because Kyler Murray just stared at A.J. Green and said, well, I have to go to him. Do you? Or could you have scouted the field and threw it to somebody else open? Or threw to somebody that was going to get open? Nope, you had to go to him because that was your initial read. You didn't move off it. Cardinals' offense is so predictable. Good for the Seahawks. Big victory at home. They're 3-3. 3-3 Seahawks. Who saw that coming? Now, haven't even gotten to the two biggest games yet, but to me, they're not the most fascinating stories. To me, anyway, they're not. I find the New York teams. Steelers was big for me because of just the way they won, and obviously the Bucs, the way they did it. The two biggest wins of the day were New York football. Giants beating the Ravens, Jets beating the Packers. The New York football Giants are 5-1. I'm going to repeat that. The New York football Giants are 5-1. I said on Friday on the Big Money Show that I had a feeling about this game. I took the Giants because I felt it was going to be a field goal game either way. It turned out to be a good bet, just the Giants ended up winning. But I didn't feel the Ravens were a 5.5-point favorite in this game. The Ravens who have had their issues, the Ravens who have struggled in close games, and the Giants, this is what I'd say about the Giants this year. They're having resurgences across the board. Daniel Jones, who's in his fourth season, isn't asked to be Superman, but he's having the most productive season of his professional career. Since his time at Duke, he's playing his best football right now. He's making to me, he's great on third down. He makes big throws on third down. He's finding Darius Slayton, Micah Johnson off the practice squad, David Sills Jr. the fourth, guys you haven't even heard of. He's making those plays. He made two big plays yesterday at the end of the first half, 2 third downs, 8+ yards, and he converted them both. Ended up leading to a touchdown late in the half. Big play. Also, how about Jalen Smith on the defense? He's a linebacker. He's number 54. He was on the Cowboys for the long time, and he was actually a Pro Bowler. Then he was on the Giants a couple years ago, and he then got cut. He got released. Now he gets brought back to their practice squad. He's playing phenomenal football. He's found his game. He's had injuries in college. He had injuries with the Cowboys. He has found a resurgence. He's flying around. He's playing consistently. Wink Martindale, defensive coordinator. It had gotten stale in Baltimore. He goes to the Giants. He's having a resurgence. His defense is flat out playing fantastic football. McKinney, Julian Love, Jalen Smith. Leonard Williams, this Dexter Lawrence, this defense is playing unreal for the Giants. They'll give up yardage, but they'll keep you to field goals, or they'll get a sack when you're in field goal range to push you out of it. That's the way they approach the game in New York. But it's also the simplification. You can look. I gave the Ravens credit about this when they drafted Lamar. You can draft a player and say, okay, you have to fit into our system. No, that's lazy. You see who you have in your roster, and you adapt a system for that player. If you truly want them to have success, you want the organization to have some success. Joe Judge did not do that. You could argue he didn't know a system because he came from New England and he's a Belichick disciple. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Special teams coach in New York, bad hire. Brian Daboll had been a great coordinator for Josh Allen in Buffalo. If you recall, Josh Allen wasn't a great quarterback when he came out of Wyoming. He was not the guy that he is now. Some would argue the best quarterback in football. I think he's the second best quarterback in football. But again, we're splitting hairs. He had his growing pains where he had to get Josh to run with the football, make simple throws, and work with him so that he improved his completion percentage from 56% to 66% in one season. That's not just Josh, that's Brian Daboll developing a system to help Josh Allen. Now he goes to the Giants. And I'm sure ownership, and I think you hear it across the board, including from me, I'm sure I said this. The Giants, well, they're in a transition season. They're a team that, they got Daniel Jones. They didn't give him a fifth-year option. They declined Saquon Barkley's fifth-year option. Let's just see how this year goes. We'll let both guys walk, and we'll move on in the draft and see what we can do long-term. Brian Daboll said, you know what, I'm not going to throw away a season, unlike Carolina and these other crap organizations. I'm going to compete here. I'm going to see what I can do with this team. Simple throws for Daniel Jones. Simple stuff. Use what got you to the NFL. Daniel Jones' athleticism. Daniel Jones' ability to hit guys on slants. Maybe he's not a great deep ball thrower, but guess what? We know what he can do in the intermediate, and he's pretty good at that. Also, we got Saquon Barkley. Why don't we use him? Wow, brilliant. We got Saquon Barkley. He's one of the best running backs in football when healthy. He's healthy. Let's let him carry the ball. They've done that to this point, and it's been a successful strategy. He leads the NFL in rushing yards. They use him in the pass game. They let him run the football. And this offensive line is not as bad as we think it is. There's way worse offensive lines out there. The Rams is worse. I could go through the league. Cincinnati's. They have competence on the defensive coordinator. They got a competent head coach. They got competent people. Mike Kafka, the new offensive coordinator, competent running the offense with Brian Daboll aiding him. I just look at this team and they believe it. They got an identity. They punch in the mouth, and they're not afraid to do it their way. They're not trying to be somebody else. They're not trying to be Baltimore. Baltimore, who's got flashier players. Baltimore, who's got a better quarterback, yet they go and beat Baltimore yesterday. The New York Football Giants just play their system, and they don't care if you don't like it. They don't care if it's boring. They're 5-1. They're 5-1, and at this point, their only loss is to the Dallas Cowboys, who are a pretty damn good football team. And the Cowboys' 2 losses are to the Bucs, which, okay, I'm going to bypass that. That was a disaster week 1. And the Philadelphia Eagles, the only undefeated team in the NFL. Pretty damn impressive. Not to mention you win a game in London, then you fly home and you beat the Ravens the next week. Packers, then the Ravens in a 2-week stretch. They are in a position to compete for this division the rest of the season. 5-1, to at least compete for a playoff spot in Brian Daboll's first season as head coach. Not to mention, you still have 2 games against the Commanders. The Commanders announced today Carson Wentz is out 4 to 6 weeks with a finger injury. Will they go to Taylor Heineke or will they go to Sam Howell at 2-4? Does it really matter? Probably not. Sam Howell's a rookie, 5th-round pick out of University of North Carolina, and Taylor Heineke's been on the roster for the last number of years. I know which way I'll go. I'll talk about that in a minute. But to me, this is what coaching does. This is what coaching is showing what you can do, developing something with what you have. Packers have more talent than the Giants. Ravens have more talent than the Giants. Yet, the Giants won both of those football games. Why? I would argue clutch performances and IQ. Wink Martindale knew that Aaron Rodgers was going to look at Allen Lazard on those final 2 plays. And guess what he did? He blitzed. Smart. This week, you get a late touchdown. Lamar's got the ball late in the game. You pressure him on 3rd down. You bring the house at him on a 3rd and 6. He's scrambling out of the pocket. He's almost out of bounds, but then he throws a bad pass and a brutal one. Julian Love intercepts it, and before you know it, it's a touchdown for the Giants. Then when he gets the ball back, he fumbles. You were smarter. You were clutcher in the key situations for the New York Football Giants. Credit to them. Credit to them for finding a way to continue to play this well. Baltimore, the AFC North is just, it's a mess. Baltimore is 3-3. The Cleveland Browns are 2-4. Cincinnati Bengals are 3-3. You got the 2-4 Steelers, who are now only a game out from leading the division. I love Lamar, but every game they've lost this year, other than the Miami game, you could put it on his shoulders. Bad interception, bad fumble. He's just, in the big moments, he doesn't play good football. He has a play seemingly every other week that just makes your head scratch and you look at it and say, what the hell just happened? Marcus Peters, my God. Marcus Peters on defense is killing me as well at the cornerback position. That injury is taking years off his career. Tore his ACL last year. He's not the same player. He's averaging 3 penalties a week for over 40 yards. He had a key pass interference at the end of the game that Saquon Barkley rushed in for a touchdown. Marcus Peters stinks on defense. Lamar isn't clutch in the big situations. You have Kenyon Drake, who runs for over 100. Mark Andrews does his usual stuff because he's just unbelievable at football. You got Devin Duvernay, who they didn't use enough yesterday. But you had enough to win, and you still lost. You're 3-3, and you should be way better than 3-3. I think that's got to be the most frustrating part for the Ravens. Is you could be the Giants 5-1 and sitting pretty in the AFC North. But now you got to sweat it. Now you got to go to Cleveland in Week 7. And that's no gimme. That's no gimme. They got crushed yesterday against the Patriots. I get it, but that's no gimme game. It's a divisional game in Cleveland. It'll be loud there. Who knows? Who knows how that game goes? Not to mention, I guess the only thing you could say about that is that the Ravens do a decent job of stopping the run. In the past game, they're a disaster. Jacoby Brissett threw 3 interceptions yesterday, all of them pretty terrible. But you're sweating it because now Cincinnati's 3-3. They got a win against the Saints yesterday. Took them down to the bitter end, but they won the game. That's all that matters. In New Orleans, difficult place to play, you found a way to win. Jamar Chase finally had a breakout game. He had over 100 yards receiving and two scores. You gutted out a game that you were down by 10 points at one point in that game, and you found a way to win it. I saw some life yesterday from Cincinnati. They could easily be 2-4, but they found a way to win it. AFC North, I have no clue where that division is going. I still think Baltimore's the best team, but do I trust that team? No. Do I trust the Browns? Hell no. Steelers? Who knows? Again, it's not crazy to say the Steelers could be in the hunt for this division. It isn't. Because who knows here? Cincinnati was in the Super Bowl last year. They got the most talented team of the bunch. That doesn't mean they're going to win. Baltimore's 1-0 against Cincinnati this year. Baltimore's 1-0 in the division. They haven't played Cleveland yet. They haven't played the Steelers yet. To wait and see. Jets-Packers. Another game I bet on the Jets because I just knew it. Again, 8-point spread for the Packers. They didn't deserve 8 points. Aaron Rodgers and that offense did not deserve 8 points. Period. First half, it was 3-3. Some of the ugliest football you'll ever see. Aaron Rodgers had no connection with anyone, was making uncharacteristically bad throws. They didn't want to run the football. Again, some of these offensive coordinators are driving me nuts. Run the ball. Run the damn ball, Matt LaFleur. No, lose to your brother. Okay. But anyway, these offensive coordinators making me crazy. But then we get to the second half. And they have a blocked field goal in the first half, and then the Jets go down the field, and Zach Wilson, it's a big play, and then they do a reverse to Braxton Berrios. He runs it in for a touchdown, makes it 10-3. 3-0 for the Packers. That was all day. Then block punt, return for a touchdown. Rich Bisaccia, I loved you last year in Vegas. You should have been able to keep your job, if you ask me. You didn't. You went to Green Bay. Blocked field goal and a block punt for a touchdown. To me, that's a 10-point spread the opposite way. So that makes it 17-3. But Rick Bisaccia, you were brought in to help the special teams. You're the special teams coordinator. They're still getting whooped. Come on, man. Good for the Jets, but special teams? Breece Hall for the Jets. Such a weapon. But I loved the way Mike LaFleur, not Matt, brothers, they are brothers. Mike LaFleur is the offensive coordinator for the New York Football Jets. I love the way he's using his running game to create screens for Zach Wilson. I have no clue if Zach Wilson's going to be a good NFL quarterback yet. And no Jets fan does, just to be clear. You could be a huge fan of the Jets. You're 4-2. You should be thrilled. You should be. Robert Saleh coaching this team well. They're keeping the receipts. But I have no clue if Zach Wilson is going to be a great quarterback. What I do know is that this team, again, can coach. This team is making it easy for Zach Wilson to hit easy throws. How about that play where they gave it to Breece Hall like he was a fullback and he scampered inside the line and goes for a touchdown? I had never seen that play design. I've watched a lot of football. So creative, so great. Clearly Green Bay hadn't seen it because they gave up an easy touchdown. But using the screen game, you give it to Conklin. They went to Conklin on a drive. Then went to C.J. Uzomah, another tight end screen on the drive. Then they gave it to Breece Hall for a touchdown. Two-headed monster at running back. You got Garrett Wilson, who isn't even a huge factor in the offense yet. Corey Davis, who is a good – they have a very creative, a very good offense. A lot of talent on it. Not to mention Leonard Williams, Quinnen Williams, this defense, LaMarcus Joyner, Sauce Gardner, who is a stud rookie corner, just like Tariq Woolen. He's locking people up. The New York Jets are 4-2. They are second in the AFC East. The Dolphins were 3-0. They are now 3-3. They lost to the Vikings yesterday. They are just completely in shambles. They are despondent upon repair. New England's 3-3. They beat the Browns yesterday. I got to apologize to New England in a second. I'm not going to do it right now. It makes me sick. But Jets, coaching, competency, and just being smarter. Green Bay. I've been saying their offense is bad for a number of weeks, and boy, is it. I don't see a plan on offense. I don't see where Aaron is. He just doesn't trust the receivers. They don't create routes for easy throws. Romeo Doubs is not open on plays. Robert Tonyan had 90 yards receiving yesterday, which is good, but again, it was when the game was over. 3 points in the first half for Green Bay. Rodgers was sacked 3 times. He was pressured, and he was hit 8. That offensive line was playing a physical brand of football is not working for Green Bay. The Jets physically beat them up yesterday. They just did. A.J. Dillon fumbled the football. Aaron Jones didn't touch the football the whole game, seemingly. Randall Cobb's injured. He's out for a couple weeks. The Vikings have their flaws, absolutely. But the Vikings are 5-1. They have a 2-game lead on the Packers, and they beat the Packers head-to-head. The Vikings are 5-1. The saving grace for the Packers is they got the Lions in their division and the Bears, like it always is. But the Vikings are a better team than the Green Bay Packers right now. Vikings are 5-1 going into their bye week. But what I do know about the Vikings is they got Jefferson, who is the best wide receiver in football, Adam Thielen, and they got Dalvin Cook when they need a big play in the run game. He seems to find one every week. Kirk Cousins trusts his receivers. He trusts that they can make a big play in a big situation. Aaron Rodgers doesn't. He's another guy right now that just looks like he doesn't want to be playing football. He doesn't look like he's having fun. Like it's a chore to go out there. Do you think he wanted to lose? Do you think he ever expected to lose to the New York Jets again in his career? It's like losing to the Bears, and they got spanked yesterday at home. He didn't play the last possession. They gave it to Jordan Love, for Christ's sakes. It's ugly in Green Bay, Wisconsin. What happens now, I don't know. No Randall Cobb. Allen Lazard seems to be the only receiving threat. They need to run the football, and they need to figure it out. Because, yes, you do got Detroit and you got Chicago in your division. But you got to make the wild card. Because I think Minnesota's going to win this division. Look at the Cowboys. They're 4-2. They're better than you at this point. The Giants are 5-1. The Eagles are leading your division. 6-0 Eagles. 5-1 Giants. 4-2 Cowboys. You got to find a way to squeak in. But I look at the Packers and I look at the Bucs, who have been consistently dominant in the NFC over the last number of years. Not that way right now. 2 offenses that don't look like they have an identity, and both 2 teams that don't look like they're having a whole lot of fun when they go into games. Quite frankly. Also yesterday, I mentioned Falcons upset the Niners. Falcons now 3-3. 0 points for the San Francisco offense in the second half. Oy vey. New England crushes Cleveland. Yeah, I gotta talk about this. Begrudgingly, I have to do this. New England, I wrote you off. I did. And you're playing good football. You beat Detroit. You beat Cleveland. 2 not very good teams. But nevertheless, you beat them. Credit to you. You have perseverance. Bailey Zappi is as good as Mac Jones. That's not a hot take to me. Mac Jones, Mr. Pedestrian, as I like to call him. Mr. Fundamentals. I like talent on you fundamentals. The way this team works, Ramondre Stevenson is their workhorse. Receivers after that are secondary. The most important person on the New England Patriots offense is Ramondre Stevenson and that offensive line. Devontae Parker and Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne and Tyquan Thornton, Mr. Oak State, whoever comes after that is secondary. It is about Ramondre Stevenson, the great back out of Oklahoma, and that offensive line creating an offense. Because if it's just about the passing game, I don't care if it's Bailey Zappi, I don't care if it's Brian Hoyer, I don't care who it is, it's not going to work. Mac Jones. If Mac Jones is asked to drop back and throw 35 times a game, New England's going to lose every time they have that plan. Running the football and playing good fundamentally is going to keep them in business, is going to keep them competitive and keep them in the fight for the wild card race. Because that's what they're fighting for in the AFC. When you look through it, I expect Buffalo to win the AFC East. So we're just looking at where we stand right now. I expect Kansas City to win the AFC West. I'm not shook. I predicted that the Buffalo Bills would win this weekend, although I predicted Kansas City to win the Super Bowl. So again, I'm right again. Got to be right about some things. There's two teams I expect to win divisions. AFC North, who knows? Who knows? AFC South, who knows? The Colts are leading the division with the Titans. My Jags are 2-4. I'm just despondent upon repair. But my Jags, my bet I made. Jags now host the Giants this weekend. They lose a late one to the Colts. Matt Ryan now is awoken. The Colts just needed that dud of a Broncos game on a Thursday night. Now they got all kinds of momentum. Good for them. Good for them. I'll give them that. But I expect somebody's going to win that division, so somebody's going to make the playoffs. AFC North. So if you look at it, Kansas City, Buffalo locks. I like the Chargers to be a wild card team. So there's one. Do we get two AFC North teams in the playoffs? Maybe. And then in the AFC East, do we get two? Do the Jets make it? Do the Jets find a way into the postseason? I don't know. Buffalo, Kansas City. Really interesting game. I mentioned earlier when Walker commented, both teams are running the football great early. Why did they stop doing it? I don't know. I will say both defenses played a hell of a game yesterday. They really did. Taron Johnson and Kira Elam had one of the nicest interceptions you'll ever see on Patrick Mahomes on their first drive in the first half. I thought, both defenses played incredible. They got good pressure on the quarterback. Chris Jones, Frank Clark had a good day. Von Miller, the closer for the Buffalo Bills, 2 huge sacks. He got a couple tackles for a loss. That's why you signed Von Miller, and that's why Buffalo Bills are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. Why Kansas City lost this game? Couple moments. 16 seconds to the half, Josh Allen hits Gabe Davis on a deep pattern down the field for a touchdown. Huge play. Looks like they're going to get a field goal for the half. They get a damn touchdown. Now, although Kansas City did then go down and get a field goal, 62-yard one late, which was so reminiscent of how the Bills lost that game to Kansas City in the playoffs. That was a little fitting. But that was a huge play. Huge play for the Bills is you get a touchdown before the half, you get that momentum. Not to mention Kansas City missed a field goal to begin the second half. Harrison Butker missed a 52-yarder. They couldn't finish drives. Travis Kelce, when he was open, you could throw him the football, but they wouldn't let him be open in the red zone, and it didn't look like Mahomes really had a guy he loved throwing the ball to. Also, just two big stops just by the Buffalo defense, just being on top of things. And the impressive drive by Josh Allen late in the game. He's using his legs. He hits Stephon Diggs and he hits Dawson Knox in the back of the end zone, and just a great catch from the tight end. And then Taron Johnson gets an interception to steal the game off the Von Miller pressure. This was a great game. I think we're going to see it again. There can always be a team that emerges. But through 6 weeks, Kansas City and Buffalo are the two best teams in the AFC East, and it isn't even close, if you ask me. The third team is a distant third. 3 best teams in football are Buffalo, Kansas City, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Then the next 5-1 teams are the Vikings, the Giants. Those are the next couple of teams that are 5-1, if you can believe it. But the top three are separating themselves. To me, the Cowboys aren't far behind. They're 4-2. I still think they're a better football team than the New York Giants, just because their overall skill on defense. They didn't have Dak Prescott last night. They lost to the Eagles. How did the Cowboys recover the number last night? They did not. Cooper Rush had his first game where he looked like a backup quarterback. Threw 3 interceptions, 2 in the first half that resulted in 6 points. And my big thing for Philly, they didn't play great last night, but they didn't have to. When the going got tough, they had a big lead at half, 20-3. But in that second half, when Dallas put on the pressure, when Dallas started to play great defense, their offense was starting to click, they did not panic. Nick Sirianni had that team ready to play, and they played that entire second half and were just even keel. They knew it was a big game, but you know what? Okay, we'll win it. We don't worry about our situation. We're a good football team. We're better than the team across the field from us. And they won a home game. And if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, you're 6-0 and you're going into a bye week. You cannot be happier with that result. You can't be happier because you didn't really have any blips. You beat Minnesota in there, a 5-1 team. You beat a Dallas team in there who was 4-1 going into a game. You beat the Command Skins, okay, whatever, not that great. But you've beaten some teams along the way that aren't just junk. They're not just walk-in teams. You've beaten good teams. You beat the Cardinals in a close game. I credit the Eagles. You beat Minnesota and you beat Dallas on your resume. Minnesota's only loss is to the Eagles. Minnesota's beaten Green Bay. Minnesota's beaten Miami. Minnesota's beaten some really good teams. We're through 6 weeks after tonight. We got Broncos-Chargers. That game is ongoing as we speak. I'll break it down tomorrow. I'm taping it. Going home to watch it when this podcast is over. Watch the first 2 periods of the early games. We got some good notes on the Florida-Boston game coming tomorrow on the podcast, which I think are going to be interesting. I enjoyed watching that game. It was good. It was good theater. Really good theater. The NFL was really good this weekend. I would say my panic meter, teams that should panic. Let's go through it here. I'm not panicking if I'm the Ravens, but I am panicking about my late game ability in close games. That I would panic. Packers, I'm panicking. Yes, panic if you're in Green Bay. Your offense stinks. Your defense is inconsistent. Yep. Bucks, nope, because your division isn't any good. Plainly. Let me look here. Some losses. Cleveland, I didn't have any faith in Cleveland. Saints, sure, panic. I had you missing the playoffs anyway. 49ers. I wouldn't panic, but you got the Chiefs next week, and then you got the Rams the week after. Rams will be coming off a bye, and although the Rams have stunk, it's a little bit of panic. A little bit. If I'm the Rams, my whole bye week, I'm trying to figure out how to create an offense that does anything productive. That's my push for the Rams. Do anything productive on offense. Okay. Let's go to baseball. What a weekend. Just plainly, baseball, I couldn't have gotten more things wrong. The only thing I got right of my predictions on Friday with baseball was that the Yankees series would still be going, which it is. Yankees-Guardians Game 5 tonight. I'm actually not certain if the game has started yet. There was a rain delay. They're going to try to play the game tonight. Should be a late start and a late finish for that series. The winner of that series will play the Houston Astros. Houston swept the Mariners. I got that wrong. I thought the Mariners would win Game 3, lose yesterday. 18 innings of scoreless baseball. Rays Guardians, that was not entertaining. I watched all 18 innings of this game, and I enjoyed it. Seeing the bullpens get down to nobody, just the anguish in Seattle. Jeremy Pena finally gets a moonshot off Murphy on a full count in the top of the 18th. Credit to Garcia, who's a starting pitcher for the Astros, came out of the bullpen. 4 clean innings, 7 strikeouts. Credible stuff from him. He gets the victory, and the Astros go to their 6th straight American League Championship Series. 6 straight. This is beyond the garbage cans. This is beyond cheating. They drafted well, and they built just a foundation there. Bregman, Altuve, Correa, and it continues with a guy like Jeremy Pena, who replaced Carlos Correa. And he's hitting a big, huge home run in a big spot. The Astros are just a really, really good team. Not to mention you get days off, so now you can line up your pitchers. Verlander, who had a tough game 1, will go in game 1 for the Astros on Wednesday. Then you can go to Framber Valdez. Lance McCullers Jr. went 6 scoreless. Told you it'd be good. That's another thing I got right. I knew McCullers would have a good start. George Kirby went 7 innings scoreless. He was fantastic as well for Seattle. I'm happy for Seattle that they got a home game. It was a loss, but the Seahawks won the next day. I think the Seattle sports scene will be happy with that. We'll be happy with this season as a whole. They can build on it. Astros are forever changing. They might have some more moves in the offseason where the team is different than it was this season. And Seattle's young. I think they got a bright future ahead of them. I might even predict for them to win the American League West next year. Phillies crush the Braves. Didn't see it coming. Did not see it coming. Didn't see that 2 Los Angeles Angels would be a huge reason why the Phillies beat the Braves. Brandon Marsh, 2-run homer off Charlie Morton early in the game on Friday night. And then Noah Syndergaard has a great goes 3 innings clean. But you win game 3, 9-1. You win game 4, 8-3. Just complete domination by the Philadelphia Phillies. They're confident. Bryce Harper's playing fantastic. Everybody's playing pretty well on this team. The bottom of their lineup is red hot. Gene Segura's batting .350 for the postseason. Aaron Nola's pitching gems. The Phillies look strong. And my thought watching the Phillies now is, are they the 0-3 Miami Marlins? What I mean by that is in 2003, the Miami Marlins fired their manager midseason, just like the Philadelphia Phillies did. And they were out of the playoffs at this point. Obviously, they fired their manager, but they found a way to scrape back, and they won 80. I think the Marlins that year won 89 games. I believe the Phillies this year won like 88 or 86 games. Wasn't many. Might have been a few less, but in that arena. So bear with me. Then the Marlins in 2003 played a 100-win team in the San Francisco Giants in the National League Divisional Series. They beat them in 4 games. The Atlanta Braves won over 100 games this season. The Marlins then went on to play the Chicago Cubs. This was the Bartman. Remember the Steve Bartman incident in Chicago? This was this season. They beat another 100-win Chicago team. Well, the Padres haven't won 100 games, but they're going on the road again to play the Padres. This team just might be a team of destiny. Bryce Harper left Washington, and that season they won the World Series without Bryce Harper. I think that's going to stick with him the rest of his career until they win one. I'm wrong. I said the San Diego Padres would not even get to the Championship Series, let alone the World Series this year. Now they're the betting favorite to get there out of the National League. Credit to Manny Machado. Credit to you, Darvish. Joe Musgrove's been fantastic. My guy, Jake Cronenworth. How about 3 straight games against the Los Angeles Dodgers with game-winning RBIs? Hader, 3 saves, another trade deadline ad. 3 saves, 0 earned runs in the series. Kudos to the Padres. I didn't have faith in them. But I mean the Dodgers. Seamus, you know I love you, but your Dodgers, the Dodgers are choke artists. They've won 1 World Series in the last 30 years, and the way they spend their money in baseball, you can basically buy a World Series, and they can't even do that. Clayton Kershaw is one of the worst elite postseason pitchers of all time. He's a guy who's won Cy Youngs. He's talked about as being one of the greats of all time. He's a choke artist. He shrinks in big games. Dave Roberts can't manage himself out of a damn phone booth. And this team just shrinks. They give up leads. They don't show up. They go to San Diego and get absolutely punked by their biggest rival. Tatis isn't playing and you lost in 4 games. This is the real playoffs. You got to rest. You got to put your starters the right way. You didn't have to go 3 games with the Mets and you still choke it away. If the Guardians win tonight, 3 of the 4 divisional series will go to road teams. Crazy. Wildcard series, 3 of the 4 went to road teams. I don't know why this road trend is starting. I do think playing in that wild card series, if you will, it helped because it gave you momentum. And I just got word as we're talking about this, the Guardians-Yankees game tonight has been postponed. So that game will be tomorrow at 4. Game 5, meaning, which has just been a crazy series because 2 games have been postponed due to rain. They'll play tomorrow, then the winner of that game will have to fly to Houston to play Houston in Game 3, a Game 1 of the American League Championship Series the next day. Phillies-Padres is also tomorrow, Game 1. That's a 9 o'clock start. Yu Darvish has been announced as the Game 1 starter for the Padres. The Phillies have not announced their Game 1 starter yet. I wouldn't be surprised they go with Zach Wheeler. They've had some rest days. He's been fantastic in the postseason. But Yankees game is postponed. That'll be tomorrow. I'm sure you'll wake up to this podcast. That series, it's being moved. So, interesting. But to me, the Yankees should win this game. You get the Guardians. They're not a great baseball team. They're fast. They're good on defense. That's one thing I'll say about them is they're very good fundamentally. But this should be a series. I mean, the Yankees will just be completely flabbergasted if they do not win the series against the Guardians. The talent disparity is quite large. But I mean, it's crazy. When you look at it, you got the Phillies, Padres, and Astros are the only favorite to have been through it so far. And I will say, even if the Yankees win their game tomorrow against the Guardians, the Astros will still be a heavy favorite, deservedly, because they are the best. They are a better team than the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees don't deserve postseason respect. Tonight, I was watching some hockey before I came over to the studio. And I'm going to go home and watch a couple end of the games of a few games. I was watched Florida's first 2 games. I was watching their 3rd game this evening. But I want to start by talking about the Leafs. I didn't talk about their 2nd game. I said I'm going to spread them around and talk about certain things. For Toronto, they beat the Sens Saturday night. Okay, fine. Again, it's 1 of 82. You win the game. Score a late goal. Worse for the Sens. I mean, you throw away a point. You need to at least get a point there. I mean, that's Senators' MO is having a bad start to a season every year, and it started poorly for them. You lose in Buffalo. You lose in Toronto. They have their home opener tomorrow. We'll see how they do. For the Leafs, my big thing is that John Tavares has looked very good to start the season to me. He's not relying on others on being effective. And what I mean by that is he's getting the puck. He's creating plays. He's putting himself in good positions. He's not relying on Bill Nylander to put him in a situation to have success. I've liked his game so far this year. I think he's been hot. He's been effective. I like John Tavares' game thus far. Bill Nylander's play, that line's been very good. Leafs top line. You're 2-1, and Matthews has played like crap in the first 3 games. That's my read on him. Sleepwalking. I watched the first 2 periods tonight. Didn't exactly play great either. All their plays to the outside, Toronto's just not an aggressive team. They're not built that way, and I mean that. It's not just about being physical. They'll never be that way as long as Kyle Dubas is the general manager. But getting to the middle of the ice is painful for this team to do it. You got to almost pull teeth to get them to do it. I don't see it enough. Okay, you can pass on the outside like the best of them. Good for you. Good. Credit to you. You can pass the puck extremely well. I give you a gold star for that. But get to the middle of the ice. That's where you're going to have success. Where does Shane Pinto scores goal against the Leafs in the power play? It's in the middle of the ice. Get to those situations for me. That's one thing. For Matt Murray in morning skate, which I'm surprised Matt Murray was at morning skate because normally goaltenders or even players, a lot of players that are playing that night don't go do morning skate, but I guess that's his ritual. That's fine. Might want to change rituals because it hasn't exactly worked out for him so far lately. But he's hurt himself. He's out at least a month for the Toronto Maple Leafs. To say this wasn't predictable, then nothing would be. He's a guy that's constantly injured. That's what we know about Matt Murray the last number of years. He gets injured all the time. And I'm sure this injury wasn't his fault. A lot of them are just bad luck. You're in the wrong place at the wrong time, something pulls, and you're out for a while. I get it. But at the same time, you're always injured, my man. And for me, Ilya Samsonov has an opportunity to take the net and run with it. They didn't start him tonight against the Desert Dogs, which was puzzling to me. I don't know why you don't start Samsonov. And I guess you're playing Arizona. That's how you look at it. But to me, again, I would have started him. But Samsonov, you have an opportunity to become the number one goaltender and take the net and never give it back. That's up to you to do it. You have a good team in front of you. You should win a lot of games. But I'd start with not letting goals that go through your body all the time. That would be my first piece of advice to Ilya Samsonov. But he's not playing. To me, he's got an opportunity to be the Leafs' number one goaltender and say, screw Matt Murray, it's my time. In the past, when Jack Campbell came back from an injury or Freddie Anderson came back from an injury, because they always seem to have injured goaltenders, the team had to give the net back to that guy because they had nobody to fill the spot. When Jack Campbell was injured last year, you know it was going to Jack Campbell because Peter Mrazek was a disaster and Jerry Shulgren was behind him. Freddie Anderson, before Jack Campbell arrived, it was Freddie Anderson's net no matter who was there. Joseph Wall, whoever you want to throw in the net, didn't matter. This time you have a goaltender that was drafted in the first round that could be a solution. If he proves himself to be. And when you get Murray will be back in November. I get it. But Samsonov, you have your opportunity to be the Leafs number one. If you don't jump on it in this next month, I think the team is going to have significant reservations about you being able to do it later in the year. This can be a death nail in the positive or the negative. It can be a death nail to Matt Murray's chances at the starting net, or it could be the nail in the coffin for you being the starter presently or in the future. Because if you can't grab it now, are you going to be able to grab it in the clutch moments? Plus, I think Kyle Dubas and co. will want to go with the goalie from the Sioux more than the Russian guy when the going gets tough. That's just the thought I have. Samsonov's got his opportunity. We'll see what he can do. Ottawa. My first number, I love Jake Sanderson. He's on the first power play, not Thomas Chabot. Fine with that. Thomas Chabot shouldn't be because he needs to play less minutes. He plays 27, 28 minutes a night. You can't. He's done that the last number of years. Sanderson already looks like a really good NHL defenseman. He doesn't do many things wrong. Great skater. He's smart. He knows when to jump into play. Physical guy. I love his play. Thought he played great against the Leafs. I thought he played pretty good against the Sabres. First two games, glowing review for Jake Sanderson. I think he's going to have a really, really good rookie season. Senators' tough start. He's not part of the tough start. He's playing well. I think he's going to be a star in this league. I think Ottawa's got a good guy in the back end. Like Sanderson, I want to see if Brandstrom can continue to play better. He was a guy I loved when they traded for Karlsson. I thought he'd be a guy that could really fit. Hasn't so far. Maybe he can. Hamonic, go away. Why is Travis Hamonic still on a roster? Why is he playing for the Ottawa Senators? Travis Hamonic is. They traded for him last year from the Ottawa Senators from the Vancouver Canucks for some reason. Between Zaitsev and Hamonic, both these guys are just complete liabilities, frustrating to watch. I don't know. What's the appeal? I don't get it, but Hamonic continues to get minutes on these teams, and it's not lost on me that he's getting minutes on Canadian teams that aren't winning jack shit. Probably because he's turned the puck over so damn often. It's like a lesser Evan Bouchard. Good pivot. Oilers, Saturday night. They lost that game to the Flames because they were fundamentally bad. 2 goals against on face-off losses in the first period. Lose the draw, you can't get the puck out. Evan Bouchard in the first play tries to throw up the boards. Weak little pass. Doesn't go anywhere, goes back to the point. They get a stop shot by Campbell. Rebound goes back to the net, Michael Backlund. Seconds later, couple shifts later, Michael Stone shot from the point after they win a draw, and the puck goes by Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell then gets beaten by Nazem Kadri as he blows by Brett Kulak, and before you know it, Jack Campbell, 4 goals on 10 shots. He's pulled. He's on the bench, and oddly enough, the Oilers don't give another goal, but the Flames end up winning the game 4-3. Flames undefeated, Panthers undefeated to this point. I haven't seen the remainder of the Panthers-Bruins game, which was really good before I left to come here. Oilers' biggest problem this year will be against teams that can make them pay, like Calgary, by losing draws, by playing stupid fundamental hockey, losing face-offs, Evan Bouchard making stupid decisions in his own zone, Brett Kulak, their big free agent signing defenseman, getting absolutely rope-a-dope by Nazem Kadri. You still got McDavid, you still got Draisaitl. But with this defense core, you're not winning a Stanley Cup. And you got Kulak signed on term. Why? I don't understand. Evan Bouchard is asked to do too much. I said that last year, and it continues. He's a liability in his own zone. He's not good enough offensively to make up for it. I don't know where this goes, but I don't like to me, Edmonton had a really poor fundamental game, and they lost it. It was a 4-1, and the Flames held on and they won a game with Dan Vladar, the backup goaltender, in net. Credit to the Flames. Kadri's had a good start. Huberdeau's had a decent start there. They're new guys. The Flames look good with Daryl Sutter. Panthers. Matthew Tkachuk, Sidney Crosby, the 2 best players in the NHL over the first almost week of the season. Crosby and Matthew Tkachuk. Tkachuk has changed the way they're playing in Florida. I mentioned last week, if you're listening to the show, about just the way that they play fundamentally. And they're going to have to be a more physical team. They have to work for goals this year. They're doing that. They make teams pay in their own zone. If you're a defenseman that holds on to the puck too long, they're going to have a forward on you and make it tough. And guess what? They're going to create a scoring opportunity that may end up in the back of the net. The Sabres are sloppy in their own zone. They're young. It's going to happen. They got a young defensive core that doesn't have a whole lot of experience. They're going to make mistakes. That's what happens across the league, but in particular when you are a young team. Florida is a team that can make you pay for those mistakes. If I'm Buffalo, Eric Comrie started on Saturday. He lost the game. I would give Eric Comrie a real run this year. Yes, he's about a middle-aged goaltender at this point. He's 25. But he's never been given an opportunity to be a starting goaltender in this league. He never got one in Winnipeg. And I would give him one this year because you got Craig Anderson. He's 41. You know what Craig Anderson is. He's retired after this year. Give Comrie a run to see if he could be an answer for you in the future. Start him 50 games. What do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose. Stamkos, 4 goals, start the year. Hot start for him. Columbus is 0-3. It's already trouble in Columbus with injuries and the way they're playing. Yikes. They got Vancouver tomorrow night. Vancouver's 0-2. They were playing Washington tonight. So you got two 0-3 teams tomorrow night in Columbus, which would be interesting. But we'll have more on this, more podcast tomorrow. Of course, we got hockey talk. We're going to talk Monday Night Football, NBA preview. I'm going to get into some of my college football notes from over the weekend as well. We'll talk about Yankees Guardians Game 5 as well, the must-win game. But I apologize for not being on earlier. I was under the weather, but I'm feeling better now. I'm back to my regular self, and I'm happy we got this done. I have a lot to dive into from this weekend. I'm glad I got to do it with you all tonight, and hope you guys can enjoy this episode in the morning, which it's already midway through the week. It's already midway through the month, if you can believe it, which I can't. In this weekend, there was so much good sports. Also, I started watching season 6 of Better Call Saul, which I love. I love Better Call Saul. I'm about halfway through the final season, maybe not about halfway. If you're not watching that show, I can't help you. I really can't, because it is incredibly, incredibly fascinating. So hopefully you guys start watching that, because I highly recommend it. We're a few episodes in, and it's extremely good so far. Well, everybody have a good night. It's 11 o'clock here, so we're wrapping up for the evening. But we'll be back tomorrow afternoon at our regular time slot, and we'll have a lot to dive into then. But until then, have a good night's rest. We'll talk to you tomorrow. This is To The Point.